Another guest here with me in the journey of entrepreneurship.
The illusion of security in corporate America baffles me.
When you're not in the right environment, you feel broken and you feel like something's wrong. That's not necessarily true.
My parents let us borrow $5,000. We paid that back eventually.
You're down one day, you're through the roof the next, and you have to ride the wave.
For me, success is being happy, being content.
I can leave, I can close my calendar for the day, I'll do something with my children.
If you want it bad enough, you can do it.
This is a game I'm in. This is the game.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jobs to Journey podcast. I'm your host, Chris Muzan. As always, bringing you the stories and the insight from people that have transitioned from that employee world into the entrepreneurial world. Always excited to share this stuff with you because these are the things that I know many of you are going through right now, whether you have that itch of like, man, I think I need something new, whether you know your current job, your current work environment doesn't have the horsepower to get you to where you want to go, or maybe you just have a dream in your heart. I know that getting over to the entrepreneurial journey is something a lot of you want to do. So we want to continue to share this story with you, continue to share the insights from people that I know have actually done this and leave you some of those breadcrumbs behind. They often say success leaves clues. So if you know anyone that has successfully done this, they're going to leave some clues for you. And so that's what the show is about. We want to be able to share with you. Again, today, y'all, we got another great guest for you here to share a little bit more insight of what it's like to go from that job life into that entrepreneur journey and actually thrive in it as a man, as a husband, as somebody that continues to grow his family. And I'm really excited to have him on today. So welcome to the show, Mr. Otis Byrd. Otis, I appreciate you taking some time today, man.
What's up, brother? I appreciate you and the invite, man. I've been waiting to get on your journey here.
Listen, man, we got a long way to go, but I had to have you on very early because, again, you and I go way back, and we've seen each other through the journey, right? We've seen each other continue to grow and stick with it. There's this kind of stickability factor that a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand is crucial to their journey. So when you have someone on the journey with you that has that stickability, it's always good to keep them close, man. So I appreciate you. I appreciate us continuing to go on this journey together, man.
Same here, man. Same here. I love watching this. I love the growth. We were just, discussing some time ago how you've been documenting your journey for so long, and for you to forward face with entrepreneurs and people who've transitioned, man, it's an incredible feat that you and your wife have been able to do. So kudos to you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. But today's about you. Today's about you. The reason why I needed to have you on is because, again, I know a little bit of your story, but I think more people need to understand a little bit more of your story. And so we're going to start at the early years, Otis, and take me back to how you grew up, where you're from, what childhood was like growing up for yourself.
Good question. So I'm originally from Chicago, and my wife and I, we transitioned to the sunshine state of California back in 2011. I remember I had just graduated college, and one of the most powerful decisions I think I did was actually marry my wife. I proposed to her our graduation day, and I never had like life figured out, right? So I continued down my journey of prior to being in my industry now, I was in the pharmaceutical industry. So I worked for Walgreens, I worked for United Healthcare. And the day that I proposed, my wife, she actually had a job opportunity to come to the West Coast. Now, if anybody that knows me, growing up childhood, I'm Chicago, like through and through. My entire livelihood was, the four walls of Chicago, some downstate Illinois, University of Illinois. And I just knew like I was destined for something bigger and better, but I just didn't know. So I went down this journey of becoming a pharmacist, and I enjoyed it because I really like to help people. And it was easy for me to transfer from, it's pharmacy, it's healthcare, to transfer from out there to out here now, because my wife was an engineer. She had got an opportunity, came out here, thought I was going to be out here maybe like 2 years tops. And I just got frustrated. I just was kind of stuck in this holding pattern because I felt the politics of an industry that I thought was for people, but it was backed by a lot of politics in terms of like insurance. And I just couldn't find myself like really helping people. And then I got to the point to where, you know, the corporate stuff started to happen. And then I just said to myself, like, there's got to be something that's out there. And I remember, you know, putting out my resume, and I started getting calls from the financial industry. Didn't make any sense to me at the time, like zero. In fact, a few of those calls, I was like, is this a scam? Like, do you see my resume? Is there anything on there that says money related? By the way, that's probably more of an idea that I formulated in my mind because I was so bad with finance, like most people are.
Sure. And
I just said to myself, like, what do you have to lose? In fact, I don't even think it was me. It was my wife more so saying, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
I went down, I interviewed, and the concepts, you know, made a lot of sense. And I never forget my coach at the time. He says, listen, he says, I know you don't come from this background, but if you have work ethic and you're coachable, then sky's the limit.
That's
and
huge.
I said, you sure you got me? He said, yeah, I got you. And
that's huge. That's huge.
I touched the industry, and I haven't turned back.
That's huge, man. Let's because you wrapped it up real quick. I'm gonna take it all the way back and start. What was in your mind about pharmacy? Because, you know, sometimes growing up in, you know, inner city or the city, we don't really know what we want to do with our life. And so what made you gravitate towards saying, nah, I think I'm gonna choose this pharmacy lane?
Whew, okay. Since this is you, I'm gonna give you the
I need it.
I'm gonna give you the raw version.
Of course.
So, two things. So I'm gonna give you my PG version, and I'm gonna give you a PG-13 version. PG version is I'm there. Okay, so PG version is my mom and dad. They had a lot of elements growing up, right? They had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. My dad was a diabetic, and I was that kid who thought I could save the world. So I would take all of their medication and put it into like the sink face bowl, and I would mix all of this up. And I thought I was coming up with a cure for like HIV and cancer. I'm not making this up, right? The difference that I found that I knew I wasn't making a difference because my mom would come in and she whooped my butt. So that's my PG version. The PG-13 version is that I grew up on the south side of Chicago where there's a lot of drug dealers. And I wanted to be fly like my entire life, but I had enough of a sample size to look at these guys and go, they're either going to die or they're going to go to jail. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I went the legal route of pharmacy. So that's how I ended up there.
Again, this is why this is important. It's like these conversations. There is some kid right now growing up still on the south side of Chicago or some other inner city that like is seeing the same things, and they don't understand how to get into a different lifestyle, into the life of their dreams or whatever the case is. So that's why our stories are important. We talked about this a little bit off camera, right? Our stories are incredibly important of how we get here, right? I've said before, you know, I grew up in West Philly, and I didn't know what I wanted to do outside of playing sports. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I randomly in my mind was like, I think I'll go to culinary school. Like I had no idea. You know what I mean? Like you have no idea what it. Yeah, you just I eat. I see my mom cook. I know how to like maneuver in a kitchen. All right, I guess I'll. And in all honesty, what I was watching had a lot to do with it too, because that's when like Emeril Lagasse was getting big, and the Food Network, and a lot of that stuff was getting big right at the time I was choosing what to go off and do with my life. So like as a child, we don't know where we're getting these influences. So it's important to be able to say like, yes, I was watching this. That's why I chose pharmacy, because I don't know another child that chose to go the pharmaceutical route. Like I have no idea. So the fact that you're like, hey, one, I'm seeing my parents with medicine in the house, and it's like there's a bunch of it. And then I'm looking around my neighborhood, and I understand what drugs are at this age. And I'm like, yeah, but this lifestyle is probably not going to get me to where I want to go. Well, let me go this route. You know what I mean? And I think that's just important how we get to that place. Second thing I was thinking about that I want to double click on. How'd you meet your wife? High school sweethearts?
No. We actually met in college.
Okay.
It was the second week of college. There was Ludacris and Young Jock had a concert, And you fresh, you out and about, I'm driving around the town, and it was probably the most bold thing I did in my entire life. There was just like this moment of like courage I had, because I wasn't like I like, I was like a ladies guy growing. I liked the girls and stuff like that, but I didn't necessarily have like that courage to always approach a girl. And I seen my wife. She was standing outside, and apparently one of her friends had got sick from like, drinking a lot. So he was vomiting. It was 3 guys, it was 3 girls. I seen her, and I turned the block. No, actually there was 4 girls and there was 3 guys. And I seen her, and I was like, yo, who is that? Like, damn, like she fine. So my 30 seconds of courage, I turned my car around, and then I approached her, and I got her name and I got her number. But to this day, she's just like, what were you thinking? Like, we were almost like evenly matched. I was just like, 30 seconds of courage.
There we go. When you know, right? When you know. So again, think of how this lines up with the story. Had you not chosen to go this direction, to go to college, to go on the farm side, like you would never meet your wife, you know? Yeah. What was college always the thing spoke about in your household? Like mom and dad were always like, go to school, go to college, get some higher education, or did you just think that was the right route?
It was a combination of both, to be honest. So I didn't know what opportunities really existed because I didn't have a lot of role models growing up. So my role model was what cliches were based on: go to school, get the good education. So I knew that, but I just was never like big on school. I wasn't the biggest school guy. And my dad, my dad was like the patriarch for our family, because he had 21 brothers and sisters. And with these 21 brothers and sisters, he migrated our entire family from the South, and he moved everybody. But my dad had a 7th grade education. Wow. So what he lacked in himself, he wanted to make up for in junior. So school was the number one thing, like, I know you're going to be successful if you go become a lawyer, son. Like he always wanted me to become a lawyer. And I was like, I'm not. Like, you want me to go to school? That's too much school, right?
Right.
So school was something that was pressed only from that standpoint. But my mom and dad, they didn't, have high level educations. My mom has checked the box of some college. My dad, again, 7th grade education. I think the highest level of education in my house was me, which was probably, I don't know, like a semester or 2 in college. So, moving down that, and then I ended up, graduating and stuff like that. But
yeah, listen, it's important to hear, because there's a lot of people that have that pressure of like, I gotta go to college. My mom didn't go, my dad didn't go, like, and they kind of get forced down this path of like, I have to do this, even if it's not what they know they want to do. It's an obligation to the family. So the fact that, your dad didn't necessarily have a high level of education, but knew that you'd be successful, kind of planted that seed in you. There's probably something there that consciously or subconsciously was like, I probably should go this route because this will make me successful. Once you got to college, what was your college experience? Was it like, I'm in the books and like, I know this is what I want to do? Were you living the college life? Obviously you met your wife, but like, what was college like for you? Did you like it? Did you not like it? How'd that go?
I never got asked that question before. So college was a very unique experience for me because it allowed me the opportunities to become a man through like the lenses of ego. I think growing up in a city, you got to be a little bit tougher. And then when you kind of get somewhere far away from inner city, you have like these identity struggles that you go through. I know I did. And it was the identity of, do I want to be married? Do I want to, commit, to, having a wife one day? And then committing to just becoming more disciplined. I think that's what college taught me more than anything. It wasn't so much the school. It wasn't so much the curriculum. It was, getting up and having a routine, making sure that I started providing for myself. Because at that time, my mom and my dad, they were helping me, pretty significantly when I first got out the house. But then I had to learn. I remember my mom one day, she told me, she said, son, she says, mama love you, but she says, I'm going to help you as long as you're helping yourself. And you're not helping yourself. She says, so you on your own. And that was like a turning point for me where I learned how to develop like identity of becoming more of a man. It's kind of weird coming from my mom, you know, but she gave me like a tip, and I was like, oh, like this makes sense. Yeah. So I think college really, it wasn't about the books for me. I feel like it was the identity development, and it was also for me to meet my wife, because ever since 2 weeks of us being together, we were living together and just kind of figuring life out. So college was pretty unique now that I look back.
Yeah, listen, it's important to kind of go through those experiences. That's how you get to learn who you are. I know I moved away from home right at 18. Like my grandma gave me her car. God bless her, right? My grandma gave me her car and was like, "Here, you can have this." Yeah, for real, because I needed that thing. 2000, what was it? A 2000 Mitsubishi Galant or so, red, tinted out the windows.
Oh, you was balling.
Yeah, listen, move from Philly to Miami, went to college, like nothing but a car. Like I was like, let's go. And I was ready, but like it taught me so much of how to, like you said, identity. Like, who am I? Where do I fit in? Kind of, you know, what am I around? How do I understand how to make a living for myself? How to make food for myself? Like all these little things, it started to teach me. But like the school aspect for me wasn't important. It's like the curriculum and going to class, like none of that stuff was actually important at all. You know what I mean? And so there are some things that you can take from it. Now, you know, many people, if you listen to me online a bunch or hear my clips, you'll probably think I'm like anti-college, which I'm not anti-college, because there are some learning lessons there. I'm just anti going into debt. And especially if you don't know what you want to do. We live in 2020, like in 2025, you can figure that out without going into debt and going to, you know, 12th grade plus, as I call it. You know what I mean? Because that's really what it is, right? You're learning friends and cities and parties and all the stuff, meeting your wife, meeting your significant other. So definitely there's some value there. But on the other side, I don't think people need it for like the work side of things, the success side of things. You know what I mean? Did you work during high school? Did you work during college? Like, did your parents let you have a job?
Let me. They would make me.
listen, bro, some people, like my mom, like she didn't let me have a job until the summer. Like she was like, you have to do school. I'll do everything you need. But like during high school, specifically during high school, she was like, nah, you can't work. Like you have to wait till the summer. I always wanted to work. I was like ahead of my time in that. I wanted to drive since I was 13 years old. I couldn't get my permit till I was 15. Like I would be like, I was that kid. And I was like, Ma, let me work. And right, I was kind of selling little things. And then like the summer would come, and then I'd be a lifeguard, and then I'd work at the grocery store. Like I always had this.
It was a flurry for you.
Yeah, it was always had this like work ethic. But like how did you grow up? Like you were forced to work?
You know, my parents were like trial by fire. So they always wanted me to have my own experience because they felt like that was the best teacher, but they did it in a controlled circumstance. So for me, for instance, I would in the wintertime, growing up in Chicago, you know, it snows and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I would shovel driveways for money. And in the summertime, I would mow lawns for money. And then my first job I got was a busboy at this company, Noodles and Company. Mm-hmm. And I never forget it because I felt like, you know, like I was in power. I remember my first like month, you know, it takes like a month to get your first check. I was fired up, man. I was like, I'm about to buy some Jordans. I'm about to buy a cell phone. Mm-hmm. And this is where the trial by fire comes in, because my parents, you know, it was almost like they were waiting on me to get my first check. In my mind, I was like, are they trying to spend my money? Are they going to start like, you know, like making me pay for stuff? And I remember my mom was like, don't open that check until we see it together. Because she was waiting on my expression. I opened the check. I mean, literally. I mean, just imagine this is a check. I opened up the check and she's watching me. This is a time when camera phones didn't exist. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine this moment if she did have one. Because the look on my face after I seen how much they was taking out for taxes, mm-hmm. I was like, what the? And she was like, watch your mouth, boy. I still remember that day to this. I still remember that moment. And I think that has like uniquely shaped me, because it taught me like to go grab my own experiences, you know, and taught me how to, like, I don't want to say like manage money, because you don't learn that like at that moment, but it taught me like the art of anticipation, because I would go to my next jobs, and during college I was working in the pharmacy, and it taught me how to negotiate, you know, before I even knew what that word even meant. It just taught me to, like, you know, go and ask for more and just, you know, work hard and stuff like that. But I think those little experiences, they kind of helped me. You know, like I look back, I remember, you know, spending their money, and then when I got my money, I didn't want to spend it no more.
Right.
You know, I don't want those Jordans no more. You know, you can have those Timberlands, right? I want to put this in the piggy bank.
That's right. It puts the spending in perspective real quick when it's your own money, right? When it's your own. All right. So do you think you had a work ethic by the time you got into college, by the time you started working in the pharmacy? Like, was your work ethic there, or were you still trying to figure out what your work ethic was like as you were in college?
Zero work ethic. Zero. Okay. Listen, I'm being honest with you. My brother's like the workhorse, right? He's 5 years older than me, and he's always set the example that my father set, which was work really hard. And again, I didn't know where this came from. My work ethic was work smarter and work harder, but just do it in disguise, right? So that people don't take advantage of you. Because I watched my dad get taken advantage of. You know, the guy worked 70, 80 hours, you know, in a factory, him and my mom, but my dad more importantly. So I was like, I don't want that. You know, I just don't feel like there's a big payoff in that. So I think my work hard was figure out a simpler way to do something, because I didn't want to be like hard labor, right? Like, I seen that happen so much. And I seen men define themselves as men by saying work really, really, really hard. And from that example that I would watch, I didn't see too much fruit that was bared from that tree of work really hard. So early on, I would say, well, yeah, I'm going to work hard when they're watching me, but I'm going to work smart to become more efficient. So, you know, if you ask me work ethic, I think I learned that. I think I learned work ethic after like the age of 25. Wow. 25 is when I think work ethic started to develop.
That's huge. Was it a catalyst? Was it something that you heard or felt like you needed to do at 25 or past that point where it's like, oh, I do need to kind of increase the work ethic a bit? And the reason why I'm touching on this is because I don't think people understand the amount of, yes, work smart, but the amount of hard work it takes to be an entrepreneur anyway. And sometimes we have this feeling like, or I hear people that are like, man, I hate my job. I'm not like, I don't show up on time, but it's because I don't really like it and all this stuff. Then they try to become an entrepreneur and they don't have the work ethic to actually do what's required because they just been like slacking off at the job. And so that's why, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, was there a catalyst? Was there something that switched? I was like, damn, I really do need to work harder at this process.
Yeah, I mistakenly ran into a guy who really intrigued me, who ended up becoming a mentor somewhat in my life. And he told me, he said, Otis, like, you want all of these things, but he flat out told me, he said, you lazy. And I went, like, what do you mean? He's like, you're just not willing to do what's necessary. And this was like the age of 25. I never forget. His nickname is Wax. Shout out to him. And he said, look, if you want what I got, because this guy, he had a great family life, right? He had a great job, great career, great, like, his kids, like, his friends respected him. This guy was like very wealthy, but he like brought me in early and he told me, he said, you lazy. And he said, you have to change that. He said, you have to develop working hard right now. And then later on, it's going to couple that with being able to outsmart everybody. He said, but right now you have to really focus in on that. And I never forget, like, that just kind of stuck with me. I remember leaving Illinois, being out here, his words were just kind of replaying in my mind. So I would find opportunities where I can outwork people. And it was kind of like a competitive drive. You know, somebody that was working with me, they didn't realize that they were competing. I only knew I was. Kind of like that story of T-Mac and Kobe, where Kobe was like competing with T-Mac, and T-Mac was like, years later, he was like, I didn't know we was competing.
Right.
That's how I developed that, because he was like, look, you have to develop this, and then it's going to show up later on. He gave me some story of like the story of a bamboo tree. He was like, it doesn't surface right away. He says it grows deep first, which is you working hard. And he says the smart stuff, it shows later on. He says, once you start putting these things together, he says, by the time you're like 30, 32, he says, this is all going to start coming together. And he was right, because I'm turning 40 next month. And I'm like, oh man, this makes a lot of sense now.
It makes sense now, right? Like, again, double click on this part of it, y'all. Like, one, having a mentor, coach, somebody that you look up to be honest with you, to tell you this is your problem. And this is for a lot of y'all listening right now. You're lazy. Like, you're lazy.
Fact.
Like, I was lazy. Otis was lazy at a point in his life. Like, we were lazy. Like, it's just some of you guys don't take heed to that message. You try to justify why you're not lazy, why your circumstance is this, why you can't do this. And that's like, it's fine. But the truth is, you're lazy. For the things that you want to make happen, you don't do the work required to make that happen.
I got goosebumps. You saying this.
Because you know it's true. Because at some point, somebody's got to wake you up and be like, hey, if you want to go from the employee life, the job you don't like, the making $50,000 a year, if you want to go from that to running something successful where you can own your time, where you can create your income, where you can determine what life you want to have, it's going to require work ethic. Like, you cannot be lazy and then think you'll be successful. If you want to be lazy, stay at a job. It's the way it goes.
100%.
But nobody tells us this early. Or if they do tell you, many people take offense.
They get offended. I was offended.
See?
I was offended. In fact, I think about, the way I wanted my life to go. And Malcolm X has that quote where he says, what you don't hate, you tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that my systems of working hard was off. And I had to do something about it. First of all, I needed to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. And then all these other things that take fruition later on, they happen. But, ultimately what I found out was that the level of laziness in me wasn't going to produce fruit, because essentially you don't rise to the level of what you want, like your goals, but you fall to the systems, or the laziness is already instilled in you. Mm-hmm. So I had to say to myself, like, Otis, like, one-on-one talk, buddy. Hey, this is not the way you planned it. This is not the way you want it. And as soon as I had that upfront conversation with myself, when I wasn't fooling myself anymore, then life started it didn't jump right away, but it was just like the turn. It was just like click, 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 click. Right. And then that's where the real growth happened from.
It's huge. That's huge. During the same period, Otis, I mean, you met Whitney, met your wife, and now, how is she seeing this transition? Because you guys are together during this time where you're figuring out work ethic and what do I really want to do? Like, what are those conversations like? Because it's so important who we choose to marry. Like, it's there's quotes out there that says it's like the number one most important life decision that you'll make is who you choose to make your spouse or your life partner, because they will either propel you towards your goals or they'll take you completely away from them. So y'all coming together in college in your early 20s, right? Now she's watching a transition. Is she transitioning similarly? Is she still thinking she's going the path of engineer? Like, what are those conversations like?
Whoever said that, they should have trademarked that. That's worth trillions by now, because that's vital. I watch a lot of people pick the wrong spouses. I mean, can't say anything because you don't want to get nobody's business, but right. I 100% endorse that. In fact, my wife, watching me through this journey has, if you let her tell it, she's always known, but she has, honestly, she would always tell me that I know that there's something in you. And I'm talking about through my darkest days, She would just go, there's just something about you. And I knew it too, but I needed her to kind of water that seed with belief and let her let me know that she got my back. And she's seen the downs, more downs, and did I say downs? Yeah, downs.
Downs.
And then she's watched this progressive growth. In fact, we were out for lunch yesterday and we were discussing just like life. And I just get in like these grateful states sometimes. And, you know, I'm just like thanking God. I'm just like, oh my God, like, look at our life. This is crazy. Like where we live, you know, lifestyle stuff, you know, purpose fulfillment stuff. And she said, you know, 19 years ago, I seen this version in you. And when she said that, I was just like, oh, damn, like,
yeah,
you did, you know, like now everybody else is like distant cousins. They're like, oh, what's up, cuz? Like, you know, I'm like, I don't even know you, you know, like I had somebody hit me up on Facebook the other day and it's like, man, cuz I see you out there doing your thing. Like, keep doing it. And I was like, who? Like, I was looking for like friends. I was like, who is this, right? But I think, you know, your significant other has the ability to give you life or provide a quicker death in life for you. And I'm so glad that I have the right woman in my life who pours into me and backs me up and supports me and helps me. And just, you know, I'm talking, you know, all of these things, right? But just give me like those little flickers, you know, when the light is like dimming, she just says something and I'll go, oh, damn. Like, that was pretty damn good. Okay.
Right. I needed that. Thank you. That's exactly it, man. We're blessed to have good spouses, man. And again, it's about I know when Zara and I were starting the journey, Zara, my wife had more of the entrepreneur mind than I did anyway. And she always knew that this was a path that, you know, she didn't know if we were going to go it together, but she always knew that she was going to continue to build a life as an entrepreneur. And then when I started to see the light, she was excited because she was like, yeah, like he sees it, right? Like now we can really, we can really go do this. And one of the key things that we had to do was really just get our visions aligned, you know. And again, this is for people that you're trying to transition from this job into this entrepreneur journey, and you're married, you have a spouse, you have a significant other, and you guys got to remember you're a team. And so you have to have a shared vision of what this looks. All right, did we die? We back?
I'm back. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know either. The whole thing shut down, but we back. But anyway, having the shared vision of what. All right, we back.
I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know which end that is. I'm like,
it might be on my side. We just got some new Wi-Fi yesterday, so might be.
I was like, do I need to check my internet? It normally tells me. I like,
yeah, I know, but it looked good on my side. Either way, we still locked in. But yeah, having that shared vision, right? Some of y'all want. Oh no, man.
You know, the devil's hating on you right now.
Hating on me, right? Hating on this. This is what happens.
The fire was coming alive, right? The fire was it was festering.
Oh man. All right.
I'm over here looking at my internet. I'm like, okay, I'm fine.
That's okay. I think it's my side.
No, it's good. It's good. Keep it going, man.
It's all right. We're gonna get through this thing.
That's it.
We're gonna get through it.
I'm here. I'm here for all of it.
All of it. All of it. We're gonna get through this thing. I'm gonna try hop over on another signal real quick.
Go for it. Fired up.
Helps.
Did you switch
Let's
it?
see if this helps.
I hear you. I heard you talking. You said something. So I think Chris is going to load back in here in just a second. I'm still live. Chris, I could take over your show. Just kidding.
We back.
You back.
We back. Man.
I'm back.
Internet. Listen, y'all. We should probably have an episode about adversity. We should probably have an episode about mental toughness. There probably is going to be some episodes coming up. But either way, appreciate y'all sticking around.
Yeah, I was about to take over, by the way.
You should have.
I was like, I got a team message to deliver today. Should I just?
You should have. But anyway, since we're back, we're gonna pick up right where we left off. Hopefully it doesn't shut down again. But again, the benefit of having a spouse that believes in you, that trusts you, and then that you guys have a shared vision to get to where you want to go. For people that want to be able to transition into this entrepreneurial journey, it's really about having someone as a partner that's going to be able to that's going to be able to assist you along in the process. So that being said, man, I want to kind of again fast forward to get you into your current career right now, you being in the financial services space. what was that transition like from pharmaceutical, from the pharmacy side of things into financial services? What did you see? Why did you need to make that transition? Was it a money thing? Was it a time thing? Walk me through a little bit of that.
Oh, it was a combination of everything you said and some. So I think that the gap for me to transition was the same size as the Grand Canyon. Like I had to find some way to bridge that. And let me tell you, let me bag it back, because I think the significant part of me sharing this with your audience is that like I was in this holding pattern of life, and I felt like I just couldn't get ahead. No matter what I did, I would get a promotion, I would get a raise. I just didn't know how to really get ahead. And I always had this like quotes in my heart and my head that fortune favors the bold. And I know that, you know, that's where opportunity lies at. So going back to what I told you earlier about, you know, me just kind of being frustrated, and I knew I needed to choose something different. I came across a mentor of mine who now is a mentor of mine, and the guy who introduced me to the financial industry. And he said, hey, you just need to be coachable, and you need to have the ability to, you know, put your head down and go to work. So I said, okay, I accepted it, position. And the reason why I did is because I didn't have like at that time, I think I was making like $45,000 a year living in Southern California. It's just it's incomprehensible to even think like life was gonna go any place. The other things that kind of jump out is that I was a man. I'm a provider. I want to provide. I want to make sure my family's taken care of. My wife and I, we had our daughter the first time. It's our first kid. And my daughter was just like the apple of my eye. Like, you got a girl. You know
I know how it goes. I know how it goes.
It's like every day, like, daddy's going to do better. Like, she couldn't talk, but I would like have these little conversations with her. And I would say, daddy's going to do better. Like, I'm going to get ahead. Like, I'm going to make this happen. And I was just like brewing. And then when the opportunity came about getting into the industry, the transition, it wasn't as hard as what I thought it was, because it was just more having to do with my mentality transferring rather than a skill set, because I'm clocking in, clocking out. You know, the hard part of my life at that time was that I was traveling. My commute was from Egypt to Corona, California to Costa Mesa, not Egypt. But it felt like that. I was driving 2 hours to get to work, and then I was working these 8-hour days, pretty standard. And then I have one day I go to my office, and this was probably like the turning point where I walk in, and there's a room that everybody has at a corporate job. It's like a glass conference room. It's a room where you get hired in, but it's also the same room where you get fired in. I walk into my job that day, and I just recall seeing all of these suits sitting in that office, and I have to walk past that office. But as soon as I'm attempting to walk past, they say, hey, Otis, we need to have a conversation. I go into that office, dude, and it's like the most bizarre scene ever. I mean, it felt like I was in the Matrix. Like, what was the guy named? Not Neo, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
It felt like a bunch of Mr. Smiths were just sitting there just like, so, and they say, listen, we got bad news. We're having budget cuts. Your department is the first one to go. So we could lay you off and we could put you in a different department. Well, I was like, well, I'm gonna keep the job. I kept the job, but they said, hey, there's a caveat. Caveat was, you know, at that time, whatever I was getting paid, I don't remember. Let's just call it like $30. They said, we're going to reduce that to $24 and some change. I'm like, what? But then they told me, don't worry, because they were going to make it up for me in more time. They were going to give me more hours. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm a hard worker, right? I established that at that point, going back to what we were discussing. So my life became miserable. I accepted that position. My 9 to 5, Chris, turned to a 9 to 9. You know, to add insult to injury, I gotta, you know, work these 14-hour shifts 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. And I got to drive 2 hours to and from work. I mean, California is known for traffic, man, and it is definitely busy season. So just, you know, with all of the culmination, everything, I said, what's the gap between me being frustrated and being just fed up and just doing something new? So when I made this transition, it was easy because I just said, I'll do whatever it takes. This guy told me he's going to help me. And he says, all I got to do is stay stuck to him, do what he says. I'm going to do that. And I got to work hard. I'm doing that already, man.
Good to go. Good to go. How old were you? How old were you when they fired you or they were attempting to do those budget cuts?
29.
Yeah. I think that's it's a really important conversation because, again, I just went on a month's worth of rants back last month in March here on LinkedIn and YouTube talking about layoffs because, the first quarter of the year, there was so many it was federal layoffs, it was private sector, it was tech, it was retail, it was just so many layoffs. And that is a catalyst for many people to say, I'm not gonna go this direction anymore. I'm gonna go this direction now. And so just for you to be another example of that, of like everything is kind of going smoothly. You probably know in the back of your mind it might not work out the way you wanted to long term, but maybe you didn't, right? Maybe you're just going kind of down your path. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're going to pull this rug out from under you. Anytime someone gets to feel what that feels like, it's almost like always a shift in their brain. It's always like like that was weird. Like, how could this happen? I know that happened to my wife. That's her story. It's like she got laid off in her early 20s and was like, oh yeah, I'm not. What if I was 53? Like what kind of life am I building? And I think everyone has to get to that place. It's sad to hear, right? We have empathy for people. I always say I have empathy for someone that loses their job, especially if you got blindsided, you didn't see it coming. That's just a major shift in your life and income and all the things. But it also can be the launching pad to you becoming this entrepreneur. Because now you start to realize, mentor used to always tell me, right? Success left in another man's hand, security left in another man's hands is not security at all. So when they would tell us it's a safe and secure job, well, technically, if they could pull the rug out from under you, it's not security at all. And that changes your perspective, which then starts to change how you operate. So it's good to hear that, again, you were another one of those people. It just happened to you at 29. For my wife, it happened to her at like 22. Ooh. For some people, it happens when they're 47, and then they're like, oh man, like I can't get through it. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
It's often. I mean, I woke up this morning at the time of this recording, IBM, I think they're letting go of like 20,000 people, something like that. It's insane, that this happens, but it's like this cycle, and I think that things, famously state, a cliche is that things happen to you, not, they happen for you, not to you. And I think that's essential. I honestly, I think that layoffs have the opportunity to help Americans sustain themselves. I think that it gives them the opportunity to step outside the box, become a little bit more innovative, whether, you want to find another career passion, or maybe you want to go to entrepreneurial route. I certainly endorse entrepreneurial route because, again, going back to what you said about leaving your security in somebody else's hands, and I think that goes without saying, when you are in that situation, you do have to work on vision and like, okay, if this happens again, like, okay, maybe I go and find another high paying job. But what's going to happen is what we all know what's going to happen. You're going to go through another round of layoffs or terminations at some point. Like, what are you going to do? And I think the bottom line for me is, if I'm an entrepreneur, you can never take that away from me. You can't. But you have to establish a vision. And I think vision, speaking on that, without execution is hallucination. So like maybe you get laid off. Oh, I'm going to drive Uber. Like, okay, like great. But like, what's the exit strategy, right? Because again, vision without execution is hallucination, but execution without vision, when you do go down this entrepreneur route, is if you don't have the vision, it's just random activity. So with the opportunities that are in the marketplace right now, oh my God, like if I was 29 right now, dude, my cousin, he just was showing me how he has a 9-to-5, but he took his 9-to-5 and turned it into his own career. And then outside of that, the guy is playing like DraftKings. He's in like $12,000 a month. And I'm like, dude, Like, this is crazy.
It's crazy.
So much opportunity, you know, like
yeah.
You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to do Uber. You don't have to go and come up with a food recipe, but it's so much opportunity when these things, they happen for us instead of going, oh, woe is me. The man's got me again, man. It's just, it bothers me, you know, like when I hear these stories, because I'm like, shouldn't you anticipate this? You know? So anyways, I'll stop.
It bothers me also when people have it happen and then go right back to it. I was on an appointment, like talking with a potential client, and she was out of work, and she said she got laid off by the federal government, and I was like, oh man, like I'm sorry to hear, and just kind of empathizing with her, and I was like, so what's next? She was like, I'm looking for another federal job. I was like, what? Like what? Like it was just mind blowing. I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, don't be offended by this comment, like if it's sensitive, but like the way this seems is like you just got out of an abusive relationship and you're going right back to an abusive relationship. Like, why would you?
Tina Turner right there.
Like, why would you do? Like, why would you do that? And I see that happen over and over and over again. I see it happen in the retail space. I was talking to a lot of retail managers, and they would get laid off because their store filed bankruptcy. And then they're like back here on LinkedIn, like, I'm looking for a retail management position in retail. Like, you just got laid off. Like, do you not think this will happen again? And so just because it's true, you hear it the same ways we hear it. And sometimes we just got to break people out of this mindset that you got to be able to try something new. Just because you had a layoff or something, like that is the launch pad. It's not what happened to you, it's what's happening for you. So that's allowing you to open up your vision, open up your eyes to be like, what else could I do? Right? The way I've kind of placed it for people is you just need to upgrade your skill sets and move your skill sets from one industry to another industry. That's all. You've created skill sets for yourself. Now just put it into a different bucket, and you'll probably make money, but don't keep it in the same bucket. So again, valuable lessons for people, man. Valuable lessons. As we start to wrap this thing up a little bit, now that you transitioned into the entrepreneur space, you're in the financial space. What were some challenges? Give the people some real life challenges, because again, we might say we believe in this entrepreneurial side, but we know this life comes with a ton of challenges and a ton of growth and all those things. So what were in the early years, not now, but in the early years, what were some of the challenges that you had to face that were like hurdles for you?
First thing that comes to my mind is mentorship. It was number one, it was finding the right mentor. There's mentors everywhere, but I think what people do is that they just kind of settle and they don't do a little bit of investigative work. Like, is this person worth following? And then once you do find the right person, it's being coachable to the instructions that they give at the speed on which they give. And I was really bad at that in the beginning. Again, coming from inner city, I'm a little bit more aggressive. So I'm willing to challenge more things that you state. You tell me to do something, I'm going to listen to it for the level on which I can receive something. But I can't go, like, if I'm like, let's say scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 3 and you're a 9, like you're not gonna, like, you got to close that gap because I'm so far away. So responding to mentorship was my biggest hurdle in the beginning. Finding the right person, responding to that person is important, because the number 2 thing is ego. Like, I'm big on ego. Ego is like, you do need it. It's like going back to culinary, it's like a dash of salt to a recipe. Like, you just need a dash of it because it kind of keeps you revitalized. But too much ego, too much salt to a cake would destroy it. It's the same thing when you're shifting to entrepreneur. You have to be a sponge in the beginning and be willing to accept the punches that come along with it. And if you can get past the ego aspect, whatever system you're running, I think it'll make it a lot easier. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, if you just look at it that from the standpoint, I don't know, once I do know, then I grow. And then once I grow, it begins to show. Those stages, once they're accepted like that, then I think it makes it a lot easier. But for me, it was ego and mentorship. Dude, I play sports. Like, I'm physical, I want to, like, I want to compete, but I don't even know, like throw my body at you, or like put you in the post, something like that. Right. So that didn't translate for me in the beginning. And it probably took me a good 2.5, maybe 3 years. I'll call it 3 years where I was battling that so often, man. But then once I did, here's what did turn around for me is the level of patience that I received from understanding myself, my persistence, my perspiration, with putting in the work because my coach, my mentor said something to me. And, they didn't tell me because it was just going to solely benefit them. They told me because they had a vested interest in me to help me get to the next level. And I think when you combine those three, it's just an unbeatable recipe or combination for success. So ego, mentorship.
That's huge. That's huge. Not enough people have mentors. Not enough people in the entrepreneur space have guidance. Something we always say, business is a team sport. So you need a team of people around you. You need people to guide you. You need people further ahead of you that say, hey, pay attention to this or watch out for this. We're blessed because we're in a business that has mentors readily available for us to be able to go, right, have this conversation. But your average person just getting their business started, you might not have that. So you got to humble yourself. You got to go seek that. You got to start studying people and getting around people that are doing better. And then you have to take in the information. And like you said, right, be able to move at the speed of instruction. We don't often know how to be good mentees.
Ooh,
that's really what it is.
Say amen to that, man. Oh my goodness, that is so good. That is so good. I'm gonna have to write that down, man. That's
but it's true, especially in the business, especially as we get into this entrepreneur world. Like, we don't know how to sit back and be like teach me something. Like, I want to learn from you. And then I provide you value by doing what you're saying, by, adding value where I can in your life. But like, there is a mentor-mentee relationship. Because I know someone's listening to this, like, how do I find a mentor? It's like, you got to be a good mentee. You got to learn how to sit under somebody. You have to learn how to take in information. You have to learn that process. I remember my college basketball coach told me this one time, because I said I wanted to be a coach one day. I was like, I want to be a basketball coach one day. He was like, oh, you'll be a great coach one day. And I was like, oh, thanks. And he was like, because you've been coached. And I was like, like that makes sense. Right? Like, I'll be a great mentor. I'll be a great coach because I know what it's like to be coached. I know what it's like to be a mentee. I know what it's like to do that side. And so I think there's some learning that has to be done for people to find a good mentor. It's really to become a good mentee,
Yes, I love that. Yeah, become a good mentee. That was a transition for me too. So I'm glad you shared that.
That's huge. That's huge, man. Lastly, give the people two things to take away if they are transitioning from job to journey, this entrepreneur journey. Give the people kind of 2 tips or 2 things that they should pay attention to help them kind of get started on this path, Otis.
I think everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So understanding that there's a process to, number 1, becoming an entrepreneur, and then 2, developing success within becoming an entrepreneur is key. So learn processes, learn, functions on how things work. Don't learn the product of whatever field that you're in, whatever industry. Learn people and understand that your industry that you're a part of it provides a solution, but the product is always going to be people. Like, no matter whatever industry, whatever field that you're in, is what I would say. So understand the process and learn stories along the way. Learn the right stories to connect what you're doing, because today you think about what we're doing. We could have got on here and talked about ETFs and mutual funds and all sorts of things, right? But facts tell, stories sell, and a story that I think everybody got to get familiar with if you're transitioning into the entrepreneurial world is Roger Bannister. Like, dude, I love his story. He's a story of the guy who broke the mile in 4 minutes. Everybody told him that he couldn't do it, right? There was a bunch of doctors, there was scientists that were telling him his heart was going to burst, telling him his lungs were going to collapse. And what this guy did is that he blocked out the naysayers. Like for us, we got a bunch of haters, right? A bunch of naysayers telling us that we can't do it. And then what did this guy do? He went to work. He got that preparation in his work. He got that patience with himself, and he just got persistent on his journey. And from that, he ran this mile, and he did it in 4 minutes. And when he did that, here's the craziest part of his story. The moment he did that, hundreds of people started doing it that same year. So I would leave you with those two things, because I find those to be very relevant for anybody. I mean, I think we can all relate to having the right stories in our life, but then most importantly, understanding that there's a process to everything as well too. So those are things that help me, that I help people with.
I love that. I love that, Otis. Where can the people find you, man? Tell them, I don't know where you hang out here on social media, if you hang out anywhere, but where can the people find you?
I am all over Instagram. My name, first name Otis _ last name Byrd. You can find me there. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Again, my name. You can find me on Facebook. Did I say my name? Yes, my name. On all platforms, you can find me on my name. I'm not dancing on TikTok, but you can find me on TikTok too. My name, by the way, Otis. That's Byrd with a Y, not an I, because I'm fly. I got it.
Hey, let's go. Let's go. Man, I appreciate you taking the time, brother. It's always good to have a conversation. It's always good to chat. And I know people are going to get a ton of value from some of the stuff that you were dropping today, man. So appreciate you taking some time out. And, I'll catch you soon on the other side, man. All right.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. All right, y'all, listen, that was amazing. I hope you got something from that, some takeaways, some things to learn, some things that you can now apply as you go from the employee life into the entrepreneur life. Focus on people, focus on process. That's what Otis left you with. Focus on people. People are going to always run your business. They're going to be your customers. They're going to be whatever you need. It's on that side. And then focus on the process. There's a process to getting to the life that you want. And sometimes you just have to know what that is so you can continue to go through it. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're sharing the stories of the people that have come from the employee world into the entrepreneur world, because if you see it, then you know you can make it happen. Very similar to what Otis said about Roger Bannister. Once people saw that a mile can be run in 4 minutes, they then all started to be able to do it. So once you see that other people have successfully gone from the employee side, started exactly where you started, and now have created some success for themselves as an entrepreneur, that means you can go off and do it too. Tap in with us every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. We do our morning mindset calls, and on those calls, y'all, we tap into changing our thinking so we can change our life. And that's what it really means to go from the employee to the entrepreneur, y'all. So until next time, we're signing off. Thanks again for watching another episode of the Jobs to Journey podcast, where we're sharing the inspiring stories of those that have come from a job and transitioned into the entrepreneurial journey. As always, if you know somebody that this would resonate with because they're going through their journey, share this episode with them. If that's you, feel free to drop a question or leave a comment. What resonated with you from today's episode? What information can you take that's going to now help you along your journey? We'd love to hear from you. And as always, feel free to share all of the content that we have and follow us on all the platforms, so that not only can you excel in your entrepreneur journey, but you can also get your financial foundation secured. Until next time.